All right, what we're going to do is talk about a few different things, but what you see right here, it's actually backwards. I don't know how to flip this on this phone to where you can actually see that, but of course it's a chart and it's got OCD, OCPD, it's got social anxiety disorder, depression, antidepressants, whatever, all that other stuff. You have Zoloft, Prozac, Lexapro, Celexa, Wellbutrin. You have Seroquel, Lithium, Geodome. You have Trazodone, Ativan, Lorazepam, Klonopin. You have Lisinopril, Clonidine, and that's just a number that I could gather that I know that was circulating through my anatomy at one point in time during my journey. God knows what other chemicals and compounds was going through my body as well that I don't even know about. But I did the history, and I did all that I've tried to do to find out why I could never get better and why my spirit wouldn't agree with the medications. Because, see, this right here, that's the mind. And what I have to look at is I have to put it all on paper and look, and truthfully, what are the ingredients in all that stuff? Is it natural? No, it's not. They're made in labs. But when I actually look at that, see, whenever I would go to detox, they would put me on Ativan, which is benzos, which years ago, that's what they did. And truthfully, it works. I mean, it can work, but it also too opens the door up for that side, for the benzo side, for the another feeling, another destructive path. And all this right here is just it's chemicals. But what we're going to do is we're going to look at a few things. All right. This is the last time I was at Peachford. I was prescribed this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 3 of them were on here. But this is the last prescription that was ever written to me. And it was down in Atlanta. And I remember I told the doctor, I said, listen, I don't need it. And they said, you know what, you're going to die. And it's like, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. But anyways, we're going to look at like the age from like 0 to 9 years old, from 10 to 14, and then from 15 to 20. And see, when we're young, the brain still is in the process of growing. It starts to learn at a young age to become dependent on certain substances not natural, whether it's sugars or whatever it is, medications, TVs, different signals that are not natural. The more sugar that is abundant through the body, the more ailments it's going to get as it gets older. Video games pull away from reality, the early age. The natural imagination is gone and it's filled with man imagination. Now you've got meds plus video games plus social media, music, movies. You've got everything in the world that's negative going into the brain on top of all the medications too. And what's happened is from 0 to 9, I want you to look at this. We're doing an inventory is what we're doing. From 0 to 9, that's the brain. We've got commercials, we've got vaccines, we've got shots, we've got secondhand tobacco, we've got exposure to drinking alcohol, we've got video games, TV, we've got Disney. And see, the majority of the people will disagree with everything that I say because they have a greed spirit within them. They have a materialistic spirit, an entity that doesn't agree with it, and they're right, and we're always wrong. Not until you lose everything will you actually see it for what it is. But anyways, from 10 to 14, now look, we're painting a picture here. Tablets, social media, phones now, medications, music. You've got commercials that intensify. They start to understand the meaning behind some of the commercials. More tobacco that's man-made with all the chemicals. More TV, more movies. And that's the signal going to that brain right there. That's where it's going. And then from 15 to 20, it just escalates. You've got everything in the world now hitting the brain. Now you got illegal drugs more than likely, which the drugs, those are too. They're chemicals. Everything has just intensified. Now, when we actually look at what we've put on our brains, when we actually look at what we've put on our brains, all that combined over the years of growing up and everything. See, now we've got the brain right there. And what we've done is we've affected the middle brain. We've affected our emotions, how to love, how to show fear, the natural fear, not fear like that's created through TVs and music and through drug addictions and all that, and through being broke. Money's created from a spiritual standpoint, because when you're broke, you're depressed, you have envy, you have all this other stuff, so it's a created thing. You know, your feelings, your trust. You don't know how to trust, loyalty, your purpose. All this everything affects the purpose. Our real purpose here has been overshadowed with everything foreign coming into our brains through our childhood and growing up. Everything that has been thrown in front of us has been designed to keep us from everything out there that God has created. You know, our decision making is based off of what we see on TV, what we see in society, what Beyonce's fucking wearing, what Cardi B is wearing, what Slim Shady Gravy is doing. Those make the decisions for us down here. Whatever it is that we read that makes us feel good is our decision made from that. You know, what we see people doing, we tend to gravitate more towards it. And if we justify the behavior, then we justify it, and it's right in our own minds and our own reasoning. You know, based off of all the stuff combined, everything combined. You know, and truthfully, you know, you have to. People that don't know me in 5 years, that was me almost 5 years ago. Went from that. And then in 1 year, we just said, you know what, we're just going to blast it. But I was going to do the same thing for 5 years. Did that in 1 year. Bam. And then we got a couple articles and then made it to the magazine. Hell yeah. Yeah. You know, but I mean, it's, my whole journey is about dissecting what this is. Why can't we see anything for what it is? And it's because all this stuff right here, even the RX symbol is it's an old symbol, meaning some serious stuff. It has to do with Jupiter. And that's quoted by Howard W. Haggard out of some of the material. But when I look at that, and I know I'm up against this, it's, Matt, we don't care. We have doctors, and God gave them to us, and it's, my whole thing is I respect you. But my almost 5 years has been against all of it. Every last bit of it. You know, using cannabis oil, using hemp oil, using CBD, using stuff that God gave us to use in order to get better. Not that stuff. That's to control us. That is to control a human being right there. And all the other stuff that we had talked about. It's all designed. We cannot, it's insane that nobody can step back and say, you know what, those are chemicals. And on top of that, they can't say, you know what, I mean, I'm serious. Everything God made is good. Now we're saying that everything God made is bad and we're going to have to depend on man? Because this stuff goes back to Mother Circe. Mother Circe in mythology, you know, put spells on individuals and then they gave her all their money and possessions and stuff. Sort of like it's doing to the masses now. Real stuff. But we have to start looking at things in different ways and how serious it is. Because all this and plus other medications, it's for everything. We've got to get everybody on them. Everybody. You know, let's let them buy stocks in the pharmacy. Let's let them make some money with the greed spirit. And then that way we'll always be here. You know, and the people that say, why can't you just take your medication the right way? And it's like, why do you got to take any at all? Seriously, I mean, we didn't have to need that shit anyways until everything was created and obesity, everything. But you still can't see that either. But the brain is the most important thing that's getting hit. You know, and all these are man-made diagnoses too, with man-made medications that are covering up stuff that are designed off of everything that we talked about from childhood up through the early exposure to the elements that are not natural at all, including that and everything else. The vaccines, the shots, it's not natural. It's a way to control over time, and that's what the fuck it is. Those of you that know me, just ignore it because you don't understand. You just don't understand shit. You know, you don't know what it takes to, you know, to apply yourself and to deny self, and the ones within the churches and stuff, and to deny self and passions, to see, to truthfully see things from not a worldly perspective, in a worldly want, in a worldly desire, you know, in a worldly want for, you know, garbage. And to see all this, and I feel like, you know, that's the whole thing is nobody's even looking into the stuff deep. And I mean, I didn't get sober just to be like, you know what, thanks, I'm not drinking no more. Yeah, in such a warped society and how bad it's getting and everything's lining up. And it is. And I love you.